What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to be replacing the shocks on my F-150. I'm going to be using these Eibach sport shocks. I'm going to be doing some before and after reviews to see how well I like them. So let's get to it. So with these Eibach shocks, they're very similar to the Bilstein 5100. They have a snap ring that is adjustable that adjusts the height on your vehicle, and that's part of the reason I bought these. My truck has a pretty good forward slant on it, and so I wanted to lift the front up a little bit. So with these, you have 4 options of ride height. The first or lowest setting is going to be stock ride height. The second one is going to give you about 0.7 inches of lift. The third, which is what I'm going with, is 1.4, and the fourth one is 2 inches. Now, Eibach does sell some springs that if you buy those and use these shocks with them, you can go up to like 3 inches, something like that. For me, I'm gonna try the third setting. I hope I like that. If I need to make some adjustments after, I can. So we're getting off-road now. Here's a couple big bumps. Ooh. I'm going probably just over about 10 miles an hour here, and it is rough, but honestly, I don't think the stock suspension is that bad. Most of the driving that I do is around town or on, paved roads, but I do go hunting and camping and all that kind of stuff. So we do a little bit of off-roading at that time, but from everything I read about these shocks, they're supposed to improve it all around. I know a lot of people are looking to upgrade their shocks for more off-road performance, but I really don't have a lot of complaints about the stock suspension. It's hard to be too critical. I think it's actually halfway decent, but like I said, once I get the new shocks on there, we'll see what improves and how I like that. So this is a well-used stock shock off the rear end of the F-150. This is a brand new Eibach shock. I'm going to try to compress these both just for a comparison to see how they compare. And I can't even... That one easily compresses with one hand. You can see how fast it rebounds. This one I can't even compress it with one hand. I got to use all my body weight on this thing. And look how much quicker that rebound is. This thing, so I've done this one twice, this one's still moving. So I got the new shocks on, we're back on the dirt road, testing them out. My camera mount won't stay stuck on the windows. Oh, shoot. So I'm holding it, so hopefully it's not too shaky. But right now we're hitting some of these big potholes again. And so first off, the biggest noticeable difference with these shocks versus the stock shocks is the stiffness of the ride. These are much more stiff. There's a little bit of good and bad with the stiffness. I've definitely noticed when I'm driving on the street that, they're about 80% the same as the stock ride. It's not a whole lot different, but when you do come around a corner, your vehicle doesn't have as much body roll. It doesn't have quite as much shudder going, over some of the small little cracks and things in the road. And the last thing I kind of noticed was on the interstate when you're going at higher speeds, there's a little more stability with these stiffer shocks. So those are all kind of good. And really there's not so far a whole lot of downside, but it's just not that much difference. So we're just getting into the off-road section here though, kind of testing these out. Once again, you can definitely tell that they are stiffer. Your truck and stuff doesn't bounce near as much when you're hitting some of these big potholes and going over some of these different obstacles. Sometimes with that softer suspension, you know, you'll hit one of those bigger potholes and it feels softer initially. It kind of gets a little more squish, but then you get a lot more rebound and it just kind of pops back up and you get a little bit of hopping, you know, one or two hops after that. With this, you don't really get that, so that's kind of nice. But I'm gonna go drive around a little bit and then I'll give you some more of my thoughts. So overall, I like them a little better. There's not a significant difference over stock. If it was me, I probably wouldn't be replacing my stock shocks just to put these on if my stock shocks are still good, unless you're planning on doing a ton of off-roading or something like that. The other benefit I got that I haven't really referred to too much is that it did lift the front end. Just as the instructions said, it was right about 1.5 inches. If I would have gone with that top notch, it would have been at about 2 inches. You can adjust them, but in reality, I think most people, once they stick them on, are gonna stick with what they pick. It's a pretty big pain installing these shocks, and I'm sure it's similar on most vehicles, but it's enough of a pain that you aren't gonna wanna be adjusting where that ring is most of the time. But overall, they've been good. I've enjoyed them. I'm gonna go do a little more driving around and a little more playing in the truck.